Captain Ju Park stood tall as the giant silver ship landed in the open field. The warm summer breeze moved his dark hair, but he did not blink. At his side, his dog Daho sat still, ears up and alert. "Easy, boy," Ju said, placing a hand on Daho's head. The dog was a special kind, smarter and stronger than normal dogs. Daho had been with Ju for 5 years in the Korean Stellar Defense Force. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. Everyone held their breath. This was humanity's first meeting with aliens. 3 tall figures walked out. They had skin that shone like the inside of a seashell, changing colors in the light. Their eyes were pure black with no white parts, and they showed no feelings on their faces. "We are the HFY. The middle one said in perfect Korean. "We come with gifts of knowledge and tools." Behind them came 4 large shapes. They looked like dogs, but made of dark metal that seemed to eat light. They moved without sound, their metal feet not even bending the grass. "These are our war hounds," the alien explained. "Do not fear them. They are simple tools with no mind or will of their own." General Kim stepped forward to welcome the aliens, but Ju felt Daho tense under his hand. The dog's fur stood up, and a low growl came from deep in his chest. "What's wrong, boy?" Ju whispered, but Daho kept his eyes fixed on the metal shades. Later that day, Ju sat in a meeting room with other officers. The aliens had shown amazing technology, cures for diseases, ways to clean pollution, and new energy sources. "This is everything we hoped for," General Kim said, smiling. "These aliens will help us solve our biggest problems." Ju nodded, but could not forget Daho's reaction. "Sir, my dog seemed very upset by their war hounds. Our dogs are trained to sense danger." The general frowned. "Captain Park, these aliens crossed space to meet us. They're sharing their knowledge freely. Don't let an animal's fear damage this chance." Ju didn't argue, but that night he found Dr. Minayun, who studied animal behavior. "Animals often sense things we miss," Minna said, checking data on her tablet. All the military dogs had the same reaction to those metal things. "The Xylarks say the war hounds are just tools," Ju said. Minna looked up. "If they're just tools, why do they look like Earth's natural hunters? Why make them look scary?" Over the next weeks, the Xylarks shared more technology. They helped build new cities and taught humans about space travel. Everyone welcomed them, except the dogs. Every time the metal war hounds were nearby, dogs would bark and pull at their leashes. One night, Ju found Daho standing by the window, staring at the alien ship glowing in the distance. "What do you see that I don't?" Ju asked. Daho turned to look at him with eyes that seemed too knowing for a dog. Ju had worked with Daho long enough to trust his instincts. The next day, Ju took samples from around the war hounds when they weren't looking. He brought them to Minna's lab. "There's something strange here," she said after testing. "The metal isn't just metal. It's changing very slowly." "Changing how?" Ju asked. "Growing, like it's alive." That night, Ju couldn't sleep. He looked at Daho, who stood guard by the door. "I believe you," he told his dog. "Something's not right." In his office at the base, Ju began a private file. He wrote down every strange thing about the war hounds, how they never made noise, how they sometimes moved when no one was giving them orders, how they watched humans when the Xylarks weren't around. 6 months after the aliens arrived, Ju was no closer to answers. But Daho still growled at the war hounds, and now Ju was sure of one thing. Whatever these metal creatures were, they were not simple tools. And he was going to find out what they really were before it was too late. Lieutenant Taehyun Kang led his squad through the quiet streets of Seoul. The moon was bright above them. His dog Bomi walked at his side, her nose testing the air. "All clear so far," Taehyun said into his radio, moving to checkpoint 3. 6 months had passed since the aliens came. The Xylarks had built tall towers in every big city. They said these towers would clean the air. People loved the aliens and their gifts. Taehyun was not so sure. His friend Captain Juwoo had shared his worries about the Hounds. Now Taehyun's team was checking the new tower in Seoul at night, just to be safe. "Sir," one of his soldiers called, "look at the tower." The tall silver building was glowing with a blue light. It had never done that before. Suddenly, Vomi froze. Her ears went flat against her head, and she made a sound Taehyun had never heard before. Not a growl, but a high, scared whine. "Something's wrong," Taehyun said. "Everyone, get ready." The ground shook. From the tower, dark shapes jumped out. They moved so fast, they were just black streaks in the air. Taehyun knew what they were, Hounds. But these were different. Vigor. Their metal bodies shifted and changed shape as they moved. "Open fire," Taehyun yelled, but it was too late. The first Hound hit his team like a storm. It moved between the soldiers faster than human eyes could follow. Where it passed, people fell. Not just his team. Everywhere. Screams filled the night. Bomi leaped forward, teeth bared. She was just a dog against a metal monster, but she didn't hesitate. The Hound turned, its body changing again. Metal spikes grew from its back. Its head split open to show rows of sharp metal teeth. "Bomi, no," Taehyun shouted, firing his gun at the Hound. The bullets hit but did nothing. The metal creature didn't even slow down. It leaped at Bomi. But Bomi was faster. She dodged to the side and then ran back toward Taehyun. "Fall back," Taehyun ordered his remaining men. Only 3 were still standing. The others lay still on the ground. "Get to the vehicles." They ran, but the Hound followed. It was playing with them. Taehyun realized. It could have caught them already. They reached their truck. Taehyun helped his men in, then whistled for Bomi. As the dog jumped into the truck, the Hound finally attacked for real. It hit the side of the truck so hard the vehicle tipped onto 2 wheels. Taehyun fired again and again at the creature, but it kept coming. Then the sky lit up. Across the city, the alien towers were shooting beams of light. Buildings fell. People ran screaming in the streets. "It's happening everywhere," one of his men said, looking at his phone. "All over the world, the Xylarks are attacking." Taehyun drove as fast as he could. The Hound chased them for a while, then turned back toward the city center where more people were. "Why?" asked the youngest soldier, his face white with shock. "Why are they doing this?" "Captain Juwoo was right," Taehyun said. "They were never here to help." They drove to the military base outside the city. Other survivors were arriving too. On the big screens in the command center, they saw the same thing happening in cities around the world. General Kim stood in the center of the room, his face gray. Just yesterday, he had been drinking with the Xylarks leaders, thanking them for their help. "The Hounds," Taehyun reported. "They're not what the aliens told us. They can change shape. Bullets don't stop them. My whole squad, only 3 of us made it back." The general nodded slowly. "Same story everywhere. These Hounds, they're too fast, too strong." Bomi pressed against Taehyun's leg. He put his hand on her head, feeling her warm fur, so different from the cold metal of the alien hunters. "Sir, we need to find Captain Juwoo," Taehyun said. "He's been studying the Hounds. He might know something that can help us." "If he's still alive," someone said quietly. Taehyun looked down at Bomi. She had sensed the danger before anyone else. She had been faster than the metal monster. "He's alive," Taehyun said, "and we're going to find him." Because now humans needed all the help they could get. Dr. Sujin Lee looked at the photos of her husband and son on her desk. They had been in Busan when the attack happened. Now they were gone, like millions of others. She wiped her eyes and turned back to her work. The underground lab was cold and damp, but it was safe from the Hounds that now hunted on the surface. "Dr. Lee," a voice called. "The new subjects are here." Sujin walked to the large room where 5 military dogs waited in their pens. They were the best dogs from the units that had survived the first attack. Strong, smart, and loyal. 3 weeks had passed since the Tylarks showed their true plans. 3 weeks of running and hiding. Humans now lived underground or in space stations. The surface belonged to the aliens and their warhounds. The door opened, and Captain Ju Park entered with his dog Doyo. Behind him came Lieutenant Taiyun Kang with Bomi. "Dr. Lee," Ju said with a small bow. "Thank you for coming. You said you had an idea to fight back." Sujin said, "I hope you do. We're losing." Ju nodded. "The warhounds are too strong for our weapons, but they have a weakness." "What weakness?" Sujin asked. "They're faster than bullets and can change their shape. They can't be hacked or shut down. They hunt like predators," Taiyun said. Bomi sensed them before they attacked. She was faster, smarter in some ways, if she had been stronger. Sujin looked at the dogs. "You want me to make the dogs stronger?" "Not just stronger," Ju said. "Better. The Xylark's warhounds have no soul, no feelings. They follow orders perfectly, but they can't think for themselves. They don't care if they live or die. Our dogs are different," Taiyun added. "They fight for us. They love us. They choose to protect us." Sujin understood now. "You want to enhance the dogs, but keep what makes them dogs." "Yes," Ju said. "You're the best canine geneticist in Korea. You've studied dog behavior all your life. If anyone can do this, you can." Sujin walked over to one of the pens. A black and tan dog looked up at her with clear, intelligent eyes. "The Xylarks think we're weak because we care," she said softly. "They see our bond with dogs as a silly human thing." She thought of her son, who had loved their family dog so much. The dog had died trying to protect him when the warhounds came. "But that bond is our strength," she continued. "Dogs and humans have worked together for thousands of years. We understand each other in ways the aliens never will." "So you'll help?" Taehyun asked. Sujin nodded. "We'll need labs, equipment, and time. And we need to be smart about this, not just bigger, stronger dogs. We need something the warhounds can't copy." "What's that?" Ju asked. "The link between human and dog," Sujin explained. "Warhounds follow orders, but they don't have partners. They don't protect anyone. Our dogs will." Over the next days, Sujin worked with a team of scientists. They studied the best military dogs and their handlers. They designed new training methods and special equipment. Colonel Hyuk Choi, the new leader of what was left of Korea's military, visited the lab. "We're calling it Project Jindo," Sujin told him, naming it after the famous Korean hunting dog. "Will it work?" the colonel asked. "It has to," Sujin said. "The aliens think their warhounds are perfect because they feel nothing. But that's their weakness. Our dogs will have something the warhounds don't. A reason to fight, a person to protect." She looked at Daho and Bomi, who would be the first test subjects. "Their warhounds have no soul," she said quietly. "Ours will have no mercy." Colonel Choi nodded. "How soon can you start?" "We already have," Sujin said. "And I promise you, Colonel, the Tylarks will regret the day they showed us their hounds." Deep under the ruins of Seoul, Ju watched as Dr. Sujin Lee placed a small metal cap on Daho's head. The dog sat still, trusting his human partner completely. "This won't hurt him," Sujin promised. "The neural link will let you share thoughts. Not words, but feelings, images." 2 months had passed since Project Jindo began. The lab was now full of activity. Scientists worked with dogs and their human partners. Some dogs ran on special machines that tested their speed and strength. Others learned to detect the smell of Tylark's metal from tiny samples. "How many pairs are ready?" Colonel Hyuk asked, looking at the training area where dogs and humans worked together. 10 so far," Sujin said. "Jiwoo and Daeho, Taehyun, and Bomi, and 8 other pairs. We're working with more, but the neural link is tricky. It doesn't work for everyone. Juwoo felt the small device behind his ear. It linked his brain to Daho's. At first, it had given him headaches. Now it felt natural. The robots didn't work, Colonel Huck said, looking at the failed machines in the corner. Engineers had tried to build robot dogs to fight the Hounds, but they were too slow, too simple. Robots follow rules, Sujin explained, just like the Hounds. They can't think beyond their programming. Dogs are different. They can make choices we don't expect. Taehyun walked over with Bomi. The dog was different now. Bigger, stronger, with a special vest that protected her body. Ready for the test? Taehyun asked Juwoo. Juwoo nodded. They walked to the testing room. Inside was a metal shape that looked like a warhound. It wasn't real, just a training tool, but it moved like the alien hunters. "Begin," said the voice over the speaker. The metal shape came to life. It moved fast, jumping from wall to wall. Juwoo and Taehyun stepped back, letting their dogs move forward. Daho and Bomi didn't bark or growl. They watched the metal shape, their eyes tracking its movements. Juwoo felt Daho's thoughts through the neural link. Not words, but plans, ideas of where to move. The fake warhound leaped toward them. In the past, such speed would have been too much for any dog. But now, Daho and Bomi moved even faster. They worked together, one dog driving the metal shape toward the other. They didn't attack head-on. They used the room, the walls, and each other to trap their prey. Within minutes, the test was over. The metal shape lay on the floor, disabled by the dog's perfect teamwork. "Good boy," Juwoo said, scratching Daho behind the ears. Through the link, he felt the dog's happiness and pride. Later, they sat in the meeting room with Colonel Cook and Dr. Lee. "The dogs are ready," Sujin said. "The neural links are working better than we hoped, and the physical changes are holding." She showed them pictures of the dog's new muscles and bones, made stronger through careful genetic changes. The dogs could now run faster than cars and bite through metal. "What about the handlers?" Colonel Tuck asked. "They need the link," Sujin explained. "The dogs are smarter now, but they need human direction for complex plans, and the emotional bond makes both stronger." Juwoo nodded. "When Daho feels my confidence, he fights better. When I feel his courage, I think clearer." "Not like the Hounds," Taehyun added. "They fight alone. We fight together." Colonel Huck stood up. "Then it's time. We found a small Skylark's base near Old Incheon. Not many Hounds, good for a first mission. Your teams will go tomorrow." That night, Juwoo couldn't sleep. He sat with Daho, his hand on the dog's head. "Tomorrow we find out if this works," he said quietly. "If dogs and humans together can beat these monsters." Daho looked up at him with eyes that seemed almost human now. Through the link, Juwoo felt something simple but powerful. Not fear, but readiness. The Hounds might be perfect killing machines, but they fought because they were programmed to. Daho fought for Juwoo, and that made all the difference. The night was dark as Juwoo and Taehyun led their teams toward the Skylark's base. The old Incheon port was now filled with alien buildings. Strange lights glowed inside them. 4 Hounds guarding the main door, Juwoo whispered, looking through his night vision goggles. Just like the scouts reported. The 10 human dog teams spread out around the base. Each human wore black armor. Each dog wore a special vest that protected their body, but let them move freely. Juwoo felt Daho's excitement through their neural link. The dog wanted to fight, to test himself against real Hounds, not just training machines. "Easy," Juwoo said softly. "We stick to the plan." The plan was simple but dangerous. They would attack from different sides, using the confusion to get inside the base. Their goal was to find out how the Hounds worked, and, if possible, to find a weakness. Juwoo raised his hand and then dropped it. The signal to begin. 2 handlers used special guns to fire smoke bombs. the area around the base filled with thick gray smoke. The war hounds wouldn't be able to see, but the enhanced dogs could still smell and hear perfectly. "Go," Juwu ordered, and the teams moved. Daho ran ahead, moving like a shadow through the smoke. Through the link, Juwu could feel what the dog sensed, the cold metal smell of a warhound just ahead. The alien machine turned, its red eyes glowing in the smoke. It moved fast, but Daho was faster. The dog didn't attack directly. Instead, he darted in, nipped at the warhound's leg, then jumped away before it could strike. The warhound followed Daho, just as planned. It was fast and deadly, but it followed patterns. It always took the shortest path to its target. It always struck in the same way. Daho led it straight toward where Bomi was waiting. As the warhound passed, Bomi leaped out and grabbed its neck with her powerful jaws. The warhound tried to shake her off, but Taehyun was there now, using a special tool to cut into the alien metal. Juwu joined him, and together they disabled the warhound. "One down," Taehyun said. Around the base, the other teams were doing the same, using the dogs to confuse and trap the warhounds, then moving in to disable them. But it wasn't easy. A scream cut through the night. One of the handlers was down, his dog fighting desperately to protect him from two warhounds at once. "Help them," Juwu told Taehyun. "We'll continue inside." Juwu and Daho slipped into the base. Inside, strange machines hummed and glowed. Juwu planted small cameras so the scientists back at the lab could see everything. Then Daho froze. Through the link, Juwu felt the dog's alarm. Something was coming. Something bigger than the regular warhounds. A massive shape moved out of the shadows. It looked like a warhound but twice the size, with 6 legs instead of 4. Its body shifted and flowed like liquid metal. "New model," Juwu whispered into his radio. "Everyone, be careful." The giant warhound stared at them with glowing red eyes. Juwu felt fear, but also something else from Daho: determination. The beast charged. It was incredibly fast. Juwu fired his weapon, but the bullets seemed to sink into the metal with no effect. Daho ran straight at the monster. At the last second, he ducked under it and slashed at its belly with his teeth. The special coating on his fangs let him cut through the alien metal. The warhound screeched, the first sound Juwu had ever heard one make. It spun around, trying to catch Daho, but the dog was already gone, moving in a pattern no machine could predict. Through their link, Juwu understood Daho's plan. He moved to the other side of the room, drawing the warhound's attention. The beast hesitated, its programming unable to decide which target to attack first. That moment of confusion was all Daho needed. He leaped onto its back and bit deep into what seemed like the control center. The giant warhound shuddered and fell. Outside, the battle was ending. 3 handlers and their dogs were badly hurt, but the Skylark's base was theirs. "We did it," Taehyun said, his face bloody but smiling. "First victory." Juwu nodded, scratching Daho's ears. The first of many. Through the link, he felt Daho's agreement. And something else. The dog understood this was just the beginning of a long fight. But he was ready. They all were. Dr. Sujin Lee looked at the data from the Incheon mission. The room was filled with screens showing pictures of the warhounds that had been defeated. "We need more dogs," Colonel Huck said. "More handlers, too. The first mission worked, but we lost 3 teams." Sujin nodded. "I've been working on making the process faster. We can train more dogs and handlers now." 2 months had passed since the first victory. The lab under Sewell had grown. New rooms had been built for training. The halls were full of people and dogs working together. "The most important thing we learned," Sujin said, pointing to a screen, "is that the warhounds follow rules. They don't adapt well to surprises." Taehyun entered the room with Bomi. The dog looked stronger than ever, her muscles hard under her shiny coat. "We found something else," Taehyun said. The link between handler and dog is getting stronger. He closed his eyes. Bomi sat perfectly still. Then, without a word or signal, she walked to a table and picked up a specific tool, bringing it back to Taehyun. I just thought about what I needed, Taehyun said. I didn't say it or show it. She knew. Sujin quickly wrote this down. The neural link is evolving. This is very good news. Colonel Hike looked impressed. Can all the dogs do this? Not all, Taehyun admitted. It seems to work best when the handler and dog choose each other freely. The strongest bonds make the strongest links. This gave Sujin an idea. She called a meeting with all the team leaders. We need to change how we pick dogs and handlers, she told them. Instead of assigning them, let them choose each other. The new method worked better than anyone expected. When people and dogs were allowed to spend time together first, the ones who formed natural bonds made the strongest teams. Juwoo helped train the new teams. He showed them how to use the neural link in battle, how to work with their dogs as true partners. Don't try to control your dog, he told the new handlers. Work together. Trust each other. One day, Juwoo found Taehyun sitting alone, looking troubled. What's wrong? Juwoo asked. The link with Bomi, Taehyun said. It's changing. Sometimes I can see through her eyes. I can smell what she smells. It's like I'm becoming part dog. Juwoo nodded. It's the same with Daeho and me. Dr. Lee says it's normal. The link goes both ways. Daeho is becoming more human in how he thinks, and I'm becoming more like him. Is that good or bad? Taehyun asked. It's an advantage, Juwoo said firmly. The Hounds can't do this. They don't change or grow. We do. Meanwhile, the Tylarks were not sitting still. They had noticed that their Hounds were being defeated. They started making new models, bigger and faster. Colonel Hike spread a map on the table. We're getting reports from all over the world. Other countries are copying Project Jindo. There are teams in America, Russia, China, everywhere. Are they working? Sujin asked. Some better than others, the colonel said. But yes, for the first time, we're winning some battles. The colonel pointed to spots on the map. We've taken back small areas. Not much, but it's a start. That night, the base celebrated. It wasn't a big party, just some extra food and a little music. But for the first time in months, people smiled. Juwoo watched as handlers and dogs sat together, sharing food and quiet moments. These weren't just soldiers and animals anymore. They were something new. Through his link with Daeho, Juwoo felt the dog's contentment. Daeho understood what they were fighting for, not just survival, but a future where humans could live in the sun again. Tomorrow we start planning a bigger mission, Colonel Tuck told Juwoo. Something that will really hurt the Tylarks. Juwoo nodded, his hand on Daeho's head. We'll be ready. The Tylarks thought they were fighting against weak humans and simple animals. They didn't understand what they were really facing. A new kind of warrior, neither fully human nor fully dog, but something greater than either alone. 3 years had passed since the Tylarks attacked Earth. 3 years of fighting, hiding, and slowly pushing back. Humans had lost most of the planet, but they had not given up. Captain Juwoo Park stood on a hill overlooking what was once Tokyo. Now, a huge Tylark ship floated above the ruined city. This was their main command center for all of Asia. It's time, Colonel Huck said through the radio. All teams, begin the attack. Juwoo looked at Daeho. The dog was no longer just a military animal. After 3 years of sharing a neural link, Daeho understood complex plans and could think almost like a human. His body was stronger and faster than any normal dog could ever be. Ready, boy? Juwoo asked, though he could feel the answer through their link. Around the ruined city, 200 human dog teams moved into position. It was the biggest attack humans had ever tried. Teams from Korea, Japan, China, and Russia had all come together for this mission. The plan was simple but dangerous. Half the teams would attack the ground forces to create a distraction. The other half, including Juwu and Devo, would try to get inside the ship. The attack began with explosions around the base of the ship. The Psylarks sent out their war hounds, hundreds of them, more than the humans had ever seen in one place. The battle was fierce. The enhanced dogs fought with skill and courage, taking down many war hounds. But there were too many. Teams began to fall. Push forward. Juwu ordered his group. We have to reach the ship. They ran toward the great ship, fighting through lines of war hounds. Deho moved like lightning, his teeth tearing through alien metal. Through their link, Juwu could feel the dog's determination and courage. They were almost at the ship when a new type of warhound appeared. It was huge, with armor thicker than any they had seen before. Its eyes glowed bright blue instead of red. The new warhound moved straight toward Juwu. It was too fast to dodge. Juwu raised his weapon, but he knew it was too late. Then Deho was there, jumping between Juwu and the warhound. The two crashed together with terrible force. Deho's teeth found the weak spot at the warhound's neck, but the alien machine's claws cut deep into the dog's side. Juwu felt Daho's pain through their link. He ran forward, firing his special gun that could damage the alien metal. The warhound fell, but Deho was badly hurt. No, Juwu said, kneeling beside his friend. Stay with me, boy. Blood soaked Deho's fur. His breathing was shallow. Through their link, Juwu felt not pain or fear, but satisfaction. Deho had saved his human. That was all that mattered to him. And then something strange happened. As Daho's life faded, the neural link between them grew stronger than ever before. Juwu could feel Daho's thoughts clearly, not just feelings, but actual thoughts. Asterisk, keep fighting. Protect the pack. I am happy to have been your friend, asterisk. Tears ran down Juwu's face as he felt Daho's last thoughts. But something else was happening too, all around the battlefield. Other handlers suddenly stopped, touching their heads as if hearing something. The neural links between all dogs and handlers had somehow connected. Every human felt Daho's sacrifice. Every dog understood what had happened. And something new was born in that moment. A shared mind, a collective will that spread through all the teams. The dogs fought harder, moving with perfect unity. The humans worked together without needing to speak. It was as if Deho's last gift had been to connect them all. The Psylark ship's defenses fell. Teams poured inside, fighting their way to the control center. The war hounds seemed confused, unable to predict what the humans and dogs would do next. For the first time, the aliens themselves appeared, tall, thin creatures with glowing skin. They looked shocked to see humans inside their ship. This is for Daho, Juwu said as he planted the bomb on the ship's main power source. As the humans and remaining dogs retreated, the great ship began to fall. The biggest Hylark's base on Earth was destroyed. It wasn't the end of the war, but it was the turning point, and it had been won not by weapons or strength, but by a dog's love for his human. 1 month after the destruction of the Tokyo command ship, Colonel Hyuk called a special meeting. The room was filled with team leaders and scientists. The Psylarks are running, Colonel Hyuk said, pointing to a large screen showing Earth from space. They're leaving our cities and gathering in space stations around Earth. Taehyun sat with Bulmi at his side. Since Daho's sacrifice, all the neural links had grown stronger. Now, Bulmi was more than a dog. She understood human speech perfectly and could share complex thoughts with Taehyun. They think they're safe up there, Dr. Sujin Lee said. They don't expect us to follow them into space. Colonel Hyuk smiled. That's exactly what we're going to do. He showed them pictures of small ships being built in hidden bases around the world. We've been working on these for the last year. Now they're ready. Space fighters? Juwu asked. He still felt the loss of Daho deeply, but he had not given up the fight. Can the dogs even survive in space? With special suits, yes, Sujin said. We've been testing them. The dogs adjust to zero gravity better than humans do. Their sense of direction is amazing. The plan was bold. Small teams would attack the Skylark space fleet and try to disable their main ships. Without those ships, the Warhounds on Earth would lose their commands and shut down. Taehyun, you and Bomi will lead the first team, Colonel Huck said. Your link is the strongest we have now. Training for space combat was hard. The dogs had to learn to move in special suits that protected them from the cold and lack of air. The humans had to learn to pilot the small, fast ships. But the neural links helped. When a handler understood how to move in zero gravity, their dog understood too. The day of the attack came too quickly. Taehyun held Bomi's head in his hands, looking into her eyes. This will be the hardest fight yet, he told her. We might not come back. Through their link, he felt her answer. She was not afraid. She would follow him anywhere. 10 small ships left Earth that night, racing toward the Skylark's fleet. Each ship carried 3 human dog teams. They were small enough to slip past the main alien defenses. Taehyun's ship reached the biggest Skylark's vessel first. They attached to its side and cut their way in. Remember, find the control room, he told his team. That's where the Skylark's leaders will be. Moving in zero gravity was strange, but Bomi adapted quickly. She pushed off walls with her strong legs, moving faster than the humans could. They met Hounds inside the ship, but these moved awkwardly in the floating environment. The dogs, however, seemed to enjoy the freedom. They could attack from any direction, spinning and turning in ways impossible on Earth. Through the growing network of neural links, Taehyun could sense the other teams making progress on different ships. They were all connected now, sharing information and feelings. Then they found something unexpected. The Skylarks themselves were not the tall, strong creatures they had appeared to be on Earth. In the low gravity of their ships, they moved slowly, their bodies weak and thin. They depended on the Warhounds for everything, Taehyun realized. They forgot how to be strong themselves. The aliens were shocked to see humans on their ship. They tried to run, but they were too slow. Suddenly, a new group of Warhounds appeared, the biggest and most dangerous yet. One of them slashed at Taehyun, cutting deep into his leg. Taehyun, one of his team shouted, "Get back." But he couldn't move. Blood floated in small red balls around him. The Warhound came closer for the killing blow. Bomi attacked with incredible speed. She tore into the Warhound, ripping out its control systems. Then she pushed Taehyun to safety, her mind clear and focused through their link. Asterisk, get to the control room. I will hold them back, asterisk. Not without you, Taehyun said, but he was too weak from blood loss. Through their link, he felt Bomi's determination. She would complete the mission, with or without him. She understood what needed to be done. As Taehyun's vision darkened, he saw Bomi leading the other dogs toward the control room. The last thing he felt through their link was her fierce joy in battle. The Warhounds had no soul, but Bomi fought with all of hers. 6 months after the space battle, people gathered in the rebuilt Seoul Memorial Park. The sky was blue and clear. No alien ships had been seen for months. General Hyuk Choi, no longer a colonel, stood before a large stone statue. It showed a human and dog standing side by side, looking to the stars. The names of all who died in the war were carved into the base. Today, we remember those who saved Earth, General Huck said to the crowd. Humans and dogs who fought together against an enemy that thought they were invincible. Ju-woo sat in the front row. He still felt Daho's absence every day, but the pain had softened. Through the neural network that now connected all handlers and dogs, he sometimes felt echoes of his friend. Dr. Sujin Lee sat beside him. She had new wrinkles around her eyes, but she also had something she hadn't had in years: hope. We won because the Skylarks never understood what they were fighting, General Tuck continued. They thought perfect machines would always beat living creatures. They were wrong. The story of the final battle had become legend. how Bomi and the other dogs had reached the control center of the main alien ship, how they had disabled the command systems that controlled all warhounds, how the alien fleet had fallen into chaos without their machines to protect them. What the general isn't saying, Sujin whispered to Juwu, is how much the dogs have changed, how much we've all changed. It was true. The neural links had created something new, a shared mind that connected all handlers and dogs. They could feel each other's thoughts and emotions across great distances. They could work together in ways that Tylarks could never understand. Taehyun walked up to join them, leaning on a cane. His leg had never fully healed, but he didn't mind. Bomi walked at his side, her head held high. The last Tylark ships left the solar system yesterday, Taehyun told them quietly. Our satellites tracked them heading toward a distant star. Do you think they'll come back? Juwu asked. Taehyun shook his head. They'll tell others about Earth, about a planet where even the animals fight back. After the ceremony, they'd walked through the park where new trees were growing. All around them, people were rebuilding. Some had dogs at their sides, not all enhanced military dogs, but regular pets too. The bond between humans and dogs seemed stronger than ever. Project Jindo created something we never expected, Sujin said. The neural links were supposed to be just for fighting, but they've become so much more. It was true. Some handlers could now speak to any dog, not just their own. Some dogs could understand complex ideas and share their thoughts with humans. It was as if both species were helping each other evolve. The Xylark's thought strength meant having no feelings, no attachments, Juwu said. That's why they built the warhounds with no soul. And that's why they lost, Taehyun added. Our dogs fought with everything they had, not just teeth and claws, but courage and love. As the sun began to set, they stood at the edge of the park, looking over the city. Seoul was healing. Earth was healing. Bomi pressed against Taehyun's good leg, and through their link, he felt her contentment. She didn't think about the war much anymore. Dogs lived in the present, and the present was good. What now? Juwu asked. What does Earth do with an army of super-smart dogs and their linked humans? Sujin smiled. We explore. We learn. We grow together. In the distance, they could see a new building rising, the Earth Defense Academy. Their new human dog teams would train, not just for war, but for peace, for exploration, for whatever came next. The warhounds had no soul, and in the end, that was their weakness. Earth's defenders had fought with heart, with spirit, with mercy when needed and none when not. They had fought for each other, for their home, for a future together. And that had made all the difference.